Hey guys, Jules here for WhatCulture.com. It is around 4 AM in the morning and Elimination Chamber 2019 has just wrapped up. To put it bluntly, it was a pay-per-view that I had middling to low expectations for, but I am walking away pretty goddamn chuffed. Not as chuffed as Adam Wilborn, as he's the one that won the Internet Championship, so that's great, but still, we make do. So let me tell you a tale of what happened on there, because there was some amazing matches, and at worst, only two very okay ones. But we begin with the pre-show, and that was Buddy Murphy versus Akira Tozawa, and that was, as you'd expect from anything from 205 Live, incredibly underappreciated for what it was. It was high-flying, it was full of spots, and amazing technical wrestling from the pair, who put on, if it was in front of any other type of crowd, would have been a pop fest. But unfortunately, people were still getting their overpriced merchandise. Oh God, I'm turning into Daniel Bryan at the moment. But to realise how much they were actually missing. Fantastic spots. There was a huge senton on Buddy Murphy's back that looked like it ripped him in half. There was some amazing power moves that clearly highlight that Buddy is definitely not of the 205-pound weight limit, because he just tossed him around like a paper doll, but still, he retained the championship, and good for him, even if his shorts did look like he'd visited Brutus the Barber Beefcake for the designs. So we kicked things off on the main show with the Women's Elimination Chamber match, which was a bit surprising because a lot of us thought that it was going to go on last. And it saw Sasha Banks and Bayley become the first inaugural Tag Team Champion Women's Division champions. They won the belts, is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. Do I think that this was the right move? Hell yes. I can't think of two women who have done more for the division, or at least tried to do as much as they have. They were part of the four horsewomen of the NXT Apocalypse. That's butchered that, but never mind. And they absolutely rose to the occasion. I was so surprised to see people like Mandy Rose getting quite a fair few moments of offense in. There was a moment where she hit her finisher and we thought that she was actually going to steal a pinfall like elimination. We were just like, okay. There wasn't as many high-flying spots as you might expect from the arena that they were fighting in, but still it was a quite kinetic, fast-paced match. There were a few botches here and there, mainly to do with the fact that there was, I don't know, there wasn't as much like force going behind some of the moves. Especially, well, I'd have to say except for one very obvious moment, and that's when Nia used way too much force and she charged through the side of one of the pods like she was Thomas the Bloody Tank Engine. She knocked herself clean out, and leading to Tamina taking the pin for her team. And it was good to see that the WWE wasn't just going to hand the two biggest women in the match the win. And Sasha and Bayley being the champions makes perfect sense. And they gave a very heartfelt speech where they just stood there and were overcome by the emotion of winning these first tag team champions for the women's division. So I couldn't have asked for a better start to the match. Strange to see it go on first, but definitely good wrestling that was on show there. Then we moved on to the Miz and Shane O'Mac defending their titles. Can't believe that Shane O'Mac was a tag team champion until tonight against the Usos, because the Usos scored a surprise victory. And I say surprise because obviously the Usos have been in a bit of hot water recently with police, and the fact that there's been rumours saying that they wanted to quit and were using this whole ruse of Jay standing up to a police officer and trying to start a fight as a reason to leave. So they put the belts on them. But that's actually quite clever in a way, if we're getting cynical about it, because it's, well, you can't leave now. You're the bloody champions. But was it a good match? Yes, it definitely was. I will say that Shane sweated far too much for a man who did 4 power moves, but he did them well. He did 2 coast to coasts, well, one, and then he messed up one, and then he jumped off the side of the turnbuckle onto Jimmy, who was on the table, went clean through there, ripped him apart, but unfortunately that led to the Miz being isolated, and he was basically picked apart with a cheeky roll-up, and they lost. He was absolutely infuriated after the match because he went, Shane was icing up his shoulder after taking quite a big bump on the outside, and he was just saying, like, look, I don't know what to do, I let you down, I'm really sorry. I let you down, I let my dad down. I let my wife down, I let my kid down, and I also let my unborn kid down because yes, that's right, Maurice came out before the match started to announce that they were having their second child. Isn't that lovely? Shame that Daddy couldn't bring home the gold. But oh well, that happens sometimes. Then we moved on to Lashley and Lio Rush versus Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship, and Finn won. Now, that's great for him, and we were all asking for a victory for Finn for a long old while, but still, where the hell is Bobby Lashley going right now? Because it ain't home with Lio Rush because he beat the tar out of him afterwards. It was a serviceable match. Finn Balor always puts on a good show no matter who he's working with. He elevates people, and Lio Rush as the smarmy heel sidekick was working wonders. Basically tagging in at inopportune moments, like making fun of people, and basically like whenever he got Finn in a lockup, he'd be like flexing and taunting. I like that. It's a shame therefore that he won't ever be paired with Bobby again by the looks of it, because Bobby beat the crap out of him afterwards because he was understandably frustrated because after Finn launched himself out of the ring, took them both out, he grabbed Lio Rush, pushed him into the turnbuckle, boom, boom, coup de grace. That's all that she wrote. So yeah, Finn is the new Intercontinental Championship, and hopefully he carries it through to Mania because I'd love to see what they do with him. But Bobby, possibly a little bit adrift with that one there. Then we went on to Ronda Rousey versus Ruby Riott, a match that had zero build, yet still actually ended up being one of the most entertaining moments of the night. And that's mainly down to the fact that Ronda Rousey is embracing the fact that she is an overpowered superhero in every sense of the word, because she came down to the ring dressed as Sonya Blade. Obviously she's providing the voice for her in Mortal Kombat 11. And she scored a near flawless victory against Ruby Riott, who got maybe an elbow in before being absolutely decimated by Ronda. It was over quicker than I realised. And then Ronda basically was looking down at Charlotte Flair came down to the ring as well and was sat at ringside to basically get that sort of nice heat going. Ronda, after destroying Ruby, looks over at Charlotte and just is giving her the daggers, looking up at the WrestleMania sign, looking down at her yeah, we're gonna square off. But then she looks somewhere else. Wilborn just goes, I bet she's looking at Becky. And yeah, Becky Lynch was there, dressed as, we believe she was dressed as Rogue from the X-Men, which makes sense because she's an unstoppable Dark Phoenix at the moment. She hobbled her way to the ring, supported by crutches. She got into the ring and then proceeded to beat the ever-loving piss out of Charlotte with them, so much so that it drew blood. It didn't look very friendly at all. And then, after a nice little standoff with Ronda just basically laughing at this situation that was going on in front of her, Becky turned and destroyed her as well, causing security to come to the ring, escort her out after she just wailed on them, and also she managed to draw blood from Ronda. So Becky is managed to get a lot of that heat back that you would expect having your knee being in a brace, or at least storyline or otherwise, would entail. So yeah, fantastically entertaining point that happened there. Then we had the piss break. There's no other way round that, really. It was Braun Strowman versus Baron Corbin in the saga of sagas that just won't ever seem to bloody end. But still, I like both wrestlers separately, I just don't like them in the program together. And that is because it's very formulaic. Braun is a very power-heavy man, as we all know. His movesets require lots of base power rather than speed, and Corbin, he's got a few really decent moves, but we've seen them so much that it's hard to see how he uses them in different ways. He did throw a chair at Braun, that was very exciting. But because of this no disqualifications match, it meant that he was just wailing on him with kendo sticks. He tried to poke his eye out very early on in the match, but failed. Then we had some interference because Drew, I was going to say Drew Barrymore, but that is definitely a different type of person. Drew McIntyre, because it's Drew Claymore. That's why. And Drew McIntyre came down to the ring and started to basically wail on Braun. But he was also supported by an still infuriated Bobby Lashley. And it seemed to be that Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre were now teaming up. They got some steps into the ring, 2 tables stacked on top of each other, and they powerbombed, a triple powerbomb on Braun through both tables. And we sat there just going, right, so the Shield's dead at the moment, so are they just forming the new Shield? And then the comment section of our stream dictated that their name would be the Meat Shield, because they are just absolute zeppelins of musculature. So I laughed at that quite a lot. I didn't really care for the spot. I don't really know where it's going. It's a three-man stable where it seems like creative doesn't really know what to do with them, but it was a serviceable match. Like I said, there were no bad moments of this, just at the worst, okay to good. Does that make sense? And then we had Lacey Evans made an appearance, literally, because she walked down to the ring, and then she stopped halfway, and then she walked back up. Texas, where it wasn't good enough for her. She wasn't going to debut here, not yet. But at least people are now aware that she is going to be doing a main roster debut and wasn't just a flash in the pan for the Royal Rumble. So, fine, great, yeah. And then we close on easily, in my opinion, the best match of the night. It was the Men's Elimination Chamber match for the WWE Heavyweight Championship held by Daniel Bryan, and it contained Kofi Kingston, it was Randall Keith Orton, Jeff Hardy, Daniel Bryan, AJ Styles, and Samoa Joe. And it was an absolute blockbuster of a match because it was incredibly kinetic throughout. It felt like you never knew when the eliminations were going to happen, and each and every one of them were surprising, but told a very cool story. It started off, the first elimination was Samoa Joe, who ate a bloody nice, phenomenal forearm from AJ Styles, knocked his block clean off. Sad to see him eliminated first. I feel like he could have been utilised a bit more, maybe, but that's only because of the fact that in this sort of match, when you've got such star power, it's always quite confusing as to who's going to go out first. We thought that it might be Jeff Hardy, because he's only going to really be there to do his high-flying moves. We didn't think that he was going to be the champion at the end of the night, not because he doesn't deserve it at all, but just he's the least likely to. And he did hit some fascinating high spots, like on top of the pod he did a swanton bomb onto a prone AJ Styles who was lying on top of the turnbuckle that looked absolutely devastating, but unfortunately he landed and ate a big knee from Daniel Bryan that took him out of the match. Then as things like whittled down, there was a fantastic RKO on AJ Styles. AJ jumped up onto the top rope to do another phenomenal forearm, but Randy was there and he just absolutely decimated him. But the star of the show, without a doubt, even though Daniel Bryan picked up the victory and walked away the champion still, which makes perfect sense in my book. They are doing a long-term investment with the belt, with the new styling of even when the championship graphic comes up, it's got a nice little recyclable world thing. It's fantastic. It's Kofi Kingston. Tonight, if there was any shadow of a doubt, this proved that he is the superstar in waiting that we've all known for years, but finally get like visual proof that he's still good to go. Because he went 12 minutes with Daniel Bryan towards the end. When everyone else had been eliminated, it was just those two, and they went 12 minutes. That was half of the match. A third of the match, sorry, which is an incredible amount of time to dedicate just to a one-on-one between these two guys. And it was filled with amazing spots like they got up onto the top of the pod. Kofi kicked Daniel Bryan off and tried to do a massive splash but missed, and it just looked absolutely devastating. There were tons of technical sort of, he got in the label lock, he basically was forcing Kofi to go for the ropes. It got you to the point where every false finish felt like, yeah, this would be a perfect place to end it. There wasn't any sort of like, a roll up is going to come out of nowhere or whatever. It just felt like big hit, big hit, big hit, big hit. So Daniel Bryan really got a workout with Kofi, and it's so surprising because when he's fallen in with the New Day, it's easy to write people off when they're in a stable as just being like, yeah, they're fine, they're super powerful, they are the best tag team champions on record, you could argue, but at the same time, how good are they in a singles run? Pretty bloody good still, it shows. He didn't win, and the fans were gutted, but that is the good type of heat, because he walks away going, I proved myself, and now I can be taken seriously, and maybe we'll see him being put into other matchups. It's a shame that Mustafa Ali couldn't make it. I know that a lot of people were really excited to see him shine in this, but Kofi Kingston is a safe pair of hands, and I'm glad that you still managed to get the same level of quality throughout this match. that he can deliver. So that was it, all in all. There were no shock twists apart from Lacey Evans. There were no debuts of sorts, but that's not what this was about. This was about shock title changes, about setting the groundwork for WrestleMania, Fastlane, whatever's going to be coming before it. And it was a super, super entertaining pay-per-view. There were some weak spots, there were botches, of course there were, on every single pay-per-view you get that, but at no point did the level of quality dip below being good. So yeah, I had a great time, and I believe this to be one of my favourite Elimination Chamber matches, in the men's one especially, of all time. And that's pretty mad to say, isn't it? But anyway, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. You can follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!